I'll just begin. I truly believe that anything is possible. I really do. Despite the fact that employee disengagement is as high as 70% in some industries, and that women only earn 77 cents for every dollar that a man earns, and despite the fact that women are only 6% of Fortune 500 boards and are less likely to receive promotions that will put them on a path to leadership than men, I truly believe that it is possible to achieve more. No matter the roadblocks or challenges or situations, regardless of your education, experience, or connections, if you want that promotion, that new business, or any new career or life success, it can happen. Now, as a coach, I have seen clients transition from lackluster jobs to amazing careers. I've supported people who are facing termination to gain resilience and gain promotions. And I've serviced organizations with high employee turnover and slumping sales to rebound and become profitable after investing in their members and their leaders. And how do I know it's possible? It's not just from my client success, but it is scientifically proven that if you are mentally fit, you won't quit and you will achieve the things that you desire. The first C is confidence. Say it with me, confidence.
Confidence.
All right. It is a vital component for success. Now, let's face it, we can all waver in our confidence from time to time. Like if you're interviewing for a job or meeting with a new client or applying for a loan or asking for that raise. However, you can confidently move forward and excel, but it requires that you think on purpose.
That works.
All right. So my grandmother used to say this: an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And I understand that now. In fact, according to the Human Science Academy, humans have 40 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And 90% of those thoughts are negative. To even further complicate it, 85% of those thoughts are repetitive. So basically, we are thinking the same negative things over and over. In fact, researchers have this new term, it's called negativity bias. It's well studied and it has implications on our everyday lives based on the things that we do without even recognizing it that determines our decision making. Therefore, it's important that you interrupt the pattern of negative thinking. You have to think about what you're thinking about and then change the channel for more positive, encouraging, nurturing, and results-driven oriented thoughts. So when I decided that I was going to change my career from this wonderful six-figure salary position with vacation time and bonus and stock options and, let me just keep moving on, to become an entrepreneur, the first thing that I did was work on my mental muscle. I had never done this before. I attended motivational seminars, I attended spiritual conferences, and I read books to help me manage my emotions and understand my thoughts. And that is important because doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And then the number of naysayers that I had come to me, like, are you crazy? And I would say, yes, I am. I really had to believe that it was possible because it was overwhelming. But if you have a growth mindset, you can be confident in reaching your goals. Now, the growth mindset is a concept that was developed by a woman named Carol Dweck. Her book is called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And what she discovered through her research is that underlying beliefs, again, our underlying beliefs affect how we learn as well as our intelligence, and that determines our success. So it's important as well because we know that our minds really can talk us out of getting things done. And so it's a survival instinct to keep us safe. So you really have to practice your thoughts. So if you start to think, I can't do this, this is too hard, I'm not sure if this is for me, you literally have to retrain your brain to say, I can do this. It might take more time, but I will do this, even if I have to study or get new skills. You must continue to feed your brain positivity so that you can get the things that you desire. And finally, to be more confident in yourself and your abilities, this is one of my best tips. Don't compare yourself to others. Because then you will start to have negative thoughts about your own abilities. You might be looking at someone who's on chapter 40 of their life and you haven't even cracked open your book. So it's important that you do that and only be competing with the person that you see in the mirror. Now, I remember my days as a pharmaceutical sales representative, and I had a male as my partner. And I was really intrigued with how he was able to, get the physician's attention. He had a biology degree, and I have an economics degree. So already he was, ahead in terms of having those engaging conversations and getting physicians on board. And that really made me start to question my own abilities because I was comparing myself to him. They used to call us the beauty and the brains. I could barely pronounce the medical terms and some of those marketing things. So I knew that I had to have a different angle in approaching how I built relationships with my customers. And some of you may have heard me tell this story before, but I had one customer who was a cardiologist. And what I learned is that he loved the New York Rangers. And what I would do was study on the highlights for sports, what they said about the Rangers, and then I would go in and you would have thought I was an expert on hockey. But thank God he never asked me any specific questions because I certainly didn't know anything except for what was on the highlights. So, I used my unique gifts and my personality in order to gain the trust of my clients. I would also say that you can gain confidence by encouraging yourself. That's so important because if no one else compliments you, then compliment yourself. Learn to be your own best cheerleader. So think about what you're thinking about and don't let doubt cloud you out because your success starts with you. Now the second C stands for commitment. Okay, everyone say commitment.
Commitment.
Okay, so I often say you get what you work for, not what you wish for. And in some cases, you really have to be able to take risks to gain more. Now, one of my business aspirations is a woman named Sara Blakely. Does anybody know who she is? Exactly. She is the billionaire inventor of Spanx. And what I love about Sara's story is that Sara, when she was in her 20s, actually had a job as a salesperson selling fax machines down in Florida. And back in those days, us women were required to wear pantyhose. And when she would wear her sandals, she didn't like the seams showing. And therefore, she cut off the feet of her stockings, because she loved the control top. Us ladies, we love the control top. But the legs kept rolling up. And that's what gave her the idea. But here's what happened. When she went to North Carolina to pitch her idea to all the different manufacturers of hosiery, she got a no from every single one of them. So about 2 weeks later, she's at home a little dismayed, but she gets a phone call from one of them. A gentleman called her because he said he was encouraged because his 3 daughters wouldn't let it go. She had no idea at that time the hosiery industry was being managed by men who don't even use the products. So she really stayed committed. She was able to see her idea through. And Sarah's quoted as saying, "Don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else." So Sarah made a commitment, and she had a strong why and knew that failure wasn't an option. And it's important to her, and it was important to her that she stayed committed because of her confidence that she had in herself, but not only that, because she was doing something not just for herself, but for others. So a strong why will give you the energy that you need when you don't feel like making another call to a client, taking another class, or meeting with colleagues for dinner, because we know that that will help us build relationships and we can gain power. Now, I have always been a risk taker, or maybe it's my ADHD, but it's part of who I am. In fact, I'm motivated by challenges and uncertainty. I'm fascinated about what could be. So that's why I started to compete that's why I entered the Mrs. Pennsylvania pageant. And let me tell you, if you have never been a part of a pageant, don't do it. Until you talk to me. It was like a part-time job, and at times I was overwhelmed. And I was learning these pageant questions and all these new and different things. But what kept me tied to the competition and to that goal was my why. I wanted to partner with a veteran-owned organization that was invested in uplifting, supporting, and encouraging women. So it wasn't about me. That's what I kept saying to myself, Adrian, it's not about you. Keep going. It was about how I can inspire others, and that kept me committed. Now, the last C stands for, what do you think it stands for? Anybody?
Courage.
Okay, consistency. You all on track. Yes, see, all right? You have to be consistent in your passion and your delivery. It takes doing the small things day in and day out to reach your goals, because there will be days when you don't feel like making another client call, when you don't feel like completing that report or going to the gym or maybe even getting out of bed. So you have to be consistent in your attitude, because there are going to be good days and not so good days. Now, early in my corporate career, one of my positions was as a cost accountant. And that job was so monotonous and boring that I wanted to pluck my own eyeballs out. And every day, it was the same routine. But instead of moping and complaining, I looked for ways to improve the position and therefore improve myself. So one of the things that I came up with was creating an online form that enabled us to be able to have signatures approved earlier and save customer service time and all those great things. Another thing that was lacking was a training manual, and I created the training manual. And all of those things enabled me to earn an award, but it also enabled me to demonstrate a consistent behavior that led to me being promoted throughout the organization. And I want you to know that it's going to take time. Some of the things that we want to achieve, it will take time. It doesn't happen overnight. But with dedication and even some meditation, it's possible if you plan and set goals. So I encourage you, when you're faced with a difficult task, a seemingly unrealistic goal, or if you decide that you want something new and different in your life to add a little spice, remember that with confidence, commitment, and consistency, it can happen. Now, I want you to think about what you're going to do to make your dream come true. Be mentally fit and don't quit, because all things are possible if you keep going. Thank you.